some people believe that everyone has a right of have access to university education and that governments should make it free for all students, no matter what financial background they have. To what extent do you agree or disagree? As tuition fees have been inexorably increasing in recent years, the affordability of higher education has always been a topic of interest. It is argued that the government should abolish college tuition fees, irrespective of students' socioeconomic background. While this thinking is valid to a certain extent, I believe that waiving tuition would have an adverse bearing on both students and society. There are many compelling reasons why students should be allowed to pursue college without fee. On the individual level, bachelor's degree holders, especially the underprivileged, will stand a better chance of landing higher-paid jobs and bettering their life quality. On the societal level, a surge in the gross enrollment rate, prompted by a free college policy, would give rise to a more educated workforce. This acts as a precursor to not only a thriving economy but also a civilized society. Despite the aforementioned benefits, I would contend that the provision of free-of-charge higher education is, in fact, can do both the beneficiaries and society a disservice. The impact of more college graduates on employment is questionable at best. The job market has become very competitive as it is, even for job seekers with college qualifications. Qualifications. Therefore, if everyone is entitled to university, it is no longer feasible for them to find a job, let alone the financial abundance previously so often associated with the acquisition of a tertiary degree. In addition to this, the enormous cost incurred to cover higher education tuition will put a strain on government coffers, leading to budget deficits, tax hikes, or reduced welfare among others. In conclusion, while the potential benefits of university tuition waivers make it seem like a good idea, I believe that the government should not make it free for everyone. 02. Higher education attendance, undoubtedly, has been a vital determinant of economic growth. However, the costs of attending university, which have escalated in recent years, has engendered some valid concerns. A school of thought holds that students, irrespective of their financial status, should be entitled to free university. This essay is going to prove that subsidizing college education will do more harm than good. It is understandable why some people subscribe to the view that students should be allowed to pursue college without fee. Proponents of tuition exemption may argue that this practice will enable more students, especially the disadvantaged, to pursue tertiary education, which is conducive to their employment opportunities. However, this thinking is flawed, since the larger influx of graduates into the labor market is actually a primary driving force behind the rising youth unemployment. Therefore, it is apparent that wholly subsidizing tertiary education is counterproductive to job guarantee. Another pronounced drawback is that the abolition of university tuition may take a toll on students' academic performance. As today most undergraduates have to pay for their education, they are inclined to study in earnest and apply themselves to getting good grades. Therefore, were this financial obligation to be dispensed with, students could be indifferent to their study and lose the drive to work hard. For example, they may skip classes or miss exams because they feel that failing does not cost them anything. These behaviors obviously may lead to deteriorating performance, and students would fail to benefit from their education. In conclusion, I believe that allotting state funding to make university free of charge does not seem a good idea. Some students prefer to take a gap year between high school and university, to work or to travel. Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? Traditionally, high school seniors will either pursue college or enter the workforce after their graduation. However, these days, a third option, gap year, where students defer university enrollment to travel or work, is gaining traction. While there are admittedly several benefits to students, I believe that the negative influences of this growing development are more glaring. On the one hand, delaying tertiary education for 1 year is advantageous to a certain extent. First, Gap year affords new graduates time to travel and immerse themselves in alien cultures, which helps them enrich their life experiences and hone practical skills. For example, when living abroad, students will have to adapt quickly to their independent life and pick up new foreign languages. Second, given that most high schools provide inadequate career guidance, sparing several months looking for job opportunities or attending vocational training courses will empower students to identify a suitable career path. Such experiences would be hardly attainable if high school graduates immediately enroll in university and become occupied with their intense study schedules. On the other hand, I am convinced that the aforementioned advantages pale in comparison with the significant disadvantages of having a year-long break prior to embarking on higher education. A major drawback is that gap year takers may fall behind in their study as well as facing peer pressure, which could possibly drain their self-confidence. In addition to this, high school seniors can lose momentum, finding it hard to resume their education after a long time being distracted from formal schooling. Last but not least, those young people are unlikely to save up a lot of money or cultivate relevant job skills during their gap year, which can be attributed to the fact that the jobs available to high school leavers are mainly entry-level ones that are neither pay well nor teach them anything substantive. In conclusion, while taking a gap year is not without certain benefits, I would contend that the given disadvantages do not make it a worthwhile path. Some people say that schools should concentrate on teaching student academic subjects that will be useful for their future careers. Other people say that subjects such as music and sports are also necessary. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. It is hard to overstate the importance of schooling. It decides what kind of person we become, what kind of career we will have, and ultimately what kind of life we will lead. Therefore, what should and should not be taught at school is necessarily a perennial debate. Some assert that schools should focus on disciplines that will be directly relevant to one's occupation in the future, while others state that courses like sports and music should also be included in the curriculum. Both viewpoints are justifiable, but I personally lean towards the latter. On the one hand, academic subjects are indeed very important. It could be said that the foremost objective of people who attend school is to have a financially viable career after they finish. To this end, the bulk of the curriculum should be dedicated to core subjects like math, science, and language, whose performance is placed heavy emphasis by higher education institutions and employers alike. On the other hand, subjects like sports and music cannot be discounted altogether. While they may not be directly helpful in securing employment, they indirectly make a candidate more employable. Today, firms are increasingly looking beyond the technical expertise and qualifications of applicants and attach greater importance to attributes like adaptability, creativity, and collaborative skills. These qualities are arguably better cultivated in experiences like playing music or competing in team sports than in academic lessons. Another compelling reason why non-academic subjects should be taught at school is that it allows young talents in athletic and artistic fields to be discovered. Without the opportunity to participate in these activities at the elementary or secondary level, musically inclined individuals or those who are endowed with an aptitude for sport will be denied the chance to achieve their full potential. In conclusion, academic subjects should no doubt be given precedence in school, but it is also important that students be taught other subjects like music or sports. Online classes make conventional classrooms unnecessary. To what extent do you agree/disagree? Today, as the internet becomes more accessible than ever before, e-learning has exploded. With the advent of online courses, some say that physical classrooms have become redundant. While there is no denying the benefits of virtual learning over the traditional classroom model, I believe being taught face-to-face by actual teachers is an experience that can never be completely replaced. On the one hand, learning on the internet is superior to learning in a classroom in many ways. First, it is extremely cost-efficient. Online classes effectively dispense with numerous expenses that running a brick-and-mortar operation incurs, such as space and administrative staff, among others. This allows online course providers to offer them at a price point that is accessible to the masses. Second, web-based classes help learners overcome time constraints and geographical boundaries, which is particularly helpful for people in rural and remote areas where schools and teachers are scarce. On the other hand, it is hard to see the traditional classroom ever ceasing to exist. One of the reasons is simply that certain fields inextricably require physical interaction. For example, disciplines that involve elaborate lab setup and equipment like chemistry or engineering are impossible to learn in the comfort of one's own home. Furthermore, there are elements of classroom dynamics that a virtual environment simply cannot emulate. For instance, the interactive activities and live discussions in a physical lecture allow students to improve their interpersonal skills, something that is difficult to recreate in online classes where two-way interaction is rare. In conclusion, while virtual learning is superior to conventional learning in several aspects, the latter is by no means expendable. The accessibility of university education, examining the pros and cons of free access for all. The accessibility of university education has been a topic of extensive debate globally, with some advocating that higher education should be a fundamental right accessible to everyone. These proponents argue that governments should make university education free for all students, irrespective of their financial backgrounds. While this proposal may seem idealistic and egalitarian, it raises questions about its feasibility and potential implications. This essay aims to explore both sides of the argument and present a balanced perspective on the extent to which I agree with the notion of free access to university education for all. One of the primary arguments in favor of free university education is that it can promote equality and social mobility. By removing financial barriers, all individuals would have an equal opportunity to access higher education. This approach could help bridge the socio-economic gap and create a more inclusive society, where talent and merit, rather than financial means, determine educational attainment. Moreover, an educated populace can contribute to economic growth and social development, making this an attractive proposition for proponents of free education. Despite the apparent benefits, providing free university education for all entails substantial financial implications. Governments would need to allocate significant resources to cover tuition fees, accommodation, and other educational expenses. This burden could strain public finances, leading to budgetary constraints in other critical sectors such as healthcare and infrastructure. As a result, the sustainability of such a policy must be carefully examined. Making university education free for all might also lead to a decline in the perceived value of a degree. When education is readily available without a financial commitment, some students may enter university without a genuine interest or dedication to their studies. This could lead to a decrease in academic standards and undermine the quality of education, ultimately devaluing degrees in the job market. With free access to university education, the number of applicants would likely increase significantly. Universities might face challenges in accommodating the surge of students, resulting in overcrowded classrooms and strained resources. This could negatively impact the overall learning experience and hinder the effectiveness of the education system. Instead of offering free access to all, governments can consider providing targeted financial support to students from low-income families. Implementing merit-based scholarships and need-based grants can ensure that deserving students receive the necessary financial assistance to pursue higher education. This approach strikes a balance between accessibility and preserving the value of education. In conclusion, while the idea of providing free access to university education for all is commendable in its pursuit of equality and social mobility, the practicality and potential consequences must be carefully considered. Governments must strike a balance between offering financial assistance to those in need and maintaining the quality and value of education. By implementing targeted scholarships and grants, policymakers can address socioeconomic disparities and ensure that deserving students have the opportunity to pursue higher education. Ultimately, achieving accessible and high-quality university education should be a collaborative effort involving governments, educational institutions, and the wider society.